first thing we want to do is open a new document in Illustrator. So you want to open Adobe Illustrator and you will see a screen similar to this. You have these buttons over here, create new or open. Open, obviously, if you have an existing document you want to use, or create new. So we click create new and you get this dialog box. You have all these helpful presets up here, mobile, web, print. Down at the bottom, you'll see some templates that they include. Typically, what I do to just get started is I go to print and click letter. You'll see that's always in my recent as the last thing I did. Once you have your preset, though, you have these details you can adjust. Obviously, you can adjust the size, the orientation. If you want to include additional artboards, you really don't need to get into that right now. One artboard is all you're going to need. If you wanted to include a bleed, what color mode you want, etc. So get everything as you want it, hit create, and you have your document ready to go. I'm going to go over a couple things you can do to change the parameters of your document once you have something open. At the top here, you see document setup. If you click that, it opens this box where you can change the bleed. You can edit the artboards from here. If you click that, it will bring up a transform box here where you can manually type in the size you want it to do. You can drag here. When you're done resizing, you just hit exit. There's also, you can hit the escape button or just switch the tools with your shortcuts. There's lots of ways to do everything in Illustrator, but you can just start with hitting that exit button. You can change the rulers, the guides. Again, the most common thing I do in here is to edit the size of the artboard. The other stuff I rarely ever even touch. There are additional things that I go over in the Getting Started workbook about editing document setup, preferences, but I don't want to get bogged down with those because like I have said, I like to jump right in. So let's do that. If you want to look into more of these, feel free to look in the workbook for a more thorough explanation or just to refresh your memory if you're going through this later. All right, now we're going to go over the all-important toolbar, which is this thing over here on the left. If you click this little button, it can make it 2 columns or you can keep it as 1 column. This is the basic toolbar in Illustrator. If you see these 3 dots down here, if you click them, it shows you all the tools. Click this right here, you'll see that we're on the basic. If you do not see your control panel up top, just go to Window, Control, and you'll see it brings up basics such as fill, stroke, stroke width, paintbrush, etc. Over here, you will see what workspace you are in. Depending on which one you choose, will change what elements are below it. You'll see, for instance, if you pick tracing, a bunch of different stuff will pop up. I tend to use my own workspace that I've customized, but for today in this mini course, we're going to stick with the essentials. You have swatches, brushes, symbols, gradients, properties, layers, libraries. Here we have collapsed tabs of color and color guide. If we wanted to add something so that we could easily access it, we could just go under Window. We could add, let's say, stroke. It will pop up. And we want to dock it over here. So we would just drag this until we see a blue thing and let it go. And now it's there if we need it. So let's quickly go over how to zoom in and out. First, it helps to have something to zoom in on. So let's go ahead and draw a rectangle. To zoom in, you go over. I'm actually going to start with the tool that I don't use to zoom in, just to show you the option. You can use the magnifying glass to zoom in. If you don't see the magnifying glass, it might be hidden under your hand tool. Just click and hold to get it on the magnifying zoom tool. So a couple ways to do that then. You can click it to zoom in, you can drag it to zoom in on an area, you can drag it backwards, drag in, drag out. I just don't like the magnifying glass. I much prefer using the shortcuts. For zoom, it is a huge help. It is Control on the PC or Command on the Mac and plus or minus signs on the keyboard. And one of the reasons that this is my favorite is that you don't have to switch between tools. You can be doing something, you can be using the tool, and you don't have to switch to the zoom tool. So you would just be here and you could just hit zoom in, zoom out, Command or Control 0 will fit the artboard in the window. That tends to be what I use to zoom in and zoom out. Memorizing shortcuts makes for a much quicker workflow and process and is definitely something you should aim to do. Let's go over moving objects, arranging, and aligning. So let's say you want to move objects between two documents. So let's open another document. We're going to open Elements. So let's say we want to move this blue square over to a different document, the other one we have open. So the easiest way you could do, if you have two documents open, you'll see this button up here, Arrange Documents. It gives you some options. If we click this one, it'll give us a side-by-side view. All we need to do is be on our selection tool, V for the shortcuts. V is one of my most pushed buttons. In fact, the V is faded on my keyboard. And you just drag into the other document, and there you go. That's as simple as that. You can also copy and paste, which is the typical Command or Control C and Control V. Another way to do that. Like I always say, there's a million ways to do everything in Illustrator. So let's go ahead and go back to looking at just our one document and go over how we could align things. Alignment is always an important part of design. So if you don't already have rulers showing, you want to go up under View and then Rulers and Show Rulers, or you can do the shortcut. So now we have rulers showing. So we can click on a ruler and drag a guide, as many guides as we need to create whatever parameters we need for our project. I'm going to hit undo so we get them out of our way. Although another way to get rid of guides, let's say you have created guides and you don't want them anymore, and you just go up to View, Guides, and these are your options. You can clear the guides, lock the guides, hide the guides if you want to see them again, but you don't want to see them right now. We're going to go ahead and clear them. Another super important thing in Illustrator, speaking of guides, is the Smart Guides. If you go to View, you see Smart Guides are already checked. Let's just see what happens if we don't have it checked. You will see that you can put things next to each other and you won't see any sort of assistance with alignment. If you do have that checked, Smart Guides or the shortcut, then when you move an object near another object, you'll see that it automatically pops up this pink line that tries to help you align them. When Illustrator added this, this was a game changer for me. I love, love, love the Smart Guides and use them for everything. You can see that if you had a different sized shape, so because that one tried to align in the center, and you want to align it left, there you go, it pops up. And that is an automatic thing when you have Smart Guides on. Another way to align something is to use the Align tool. You just click and drag and select the things you want to align. This will pop up over here, your handy dandy Align tool, and you can align things all different ways. To the left, to the center, to the right, vertical, horizontal. If you click these three dots, you will see all the options, and you can align to your heart's content. So that is a brief look at zooming, moving, arranging, and aligning. Head on over to ktdesignacademy.com to check out my latest freebies, my books, and some more free videos.